Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm live in the studio, which means you, yes, you, need to get involved in the comments and the chat. And also, if you're not doing already, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. Please subscribe to the channel. I want to get to 800,000 subscribers, and with your support, we can get there. We've got loads of stories to get through. We're going to be talking about Sir Jim Ratcliffe's recent interview where he's been firing a few shots. There's a few things he's not happy about, and he's also been explaining his thoughts on the multi-club model as well. We're also going to be talking about Edson Alvarez from West Ham. It looks like United could have some interest there. And Mason Greenwood, of course, because it seems like every day there's another Mason Greenwood story, and today is no different. So make sure you are hitting that like button. Loads of people already in the chat. Should we talk about Mason Greenwood for starters? Good to see everyone in the chat, by the way, and I'll start going through the comments in a minute. There's a story, I think, The Mirror, and it says here that United are in talks for 30 million sort of transfer. Now, we spoke about this, me and Joe, last night on Transfers Live, and it seems like this story might have some legs to it, because, again, you can see Felix Keith, sports reporter for The Mirror, is running it this morning, saying that basically United are hoping to auction Mason Greenwood off to the highest bidder after receiving a £30 million bid from Lazio. He's been linked with a few clubs, hasn't he, Mason Greenwood? There was talk of him maybe going back to Getafe, where he's been on loan. Didn't seem like that was going to happen. They can't afford him. Then there was rumours, strong rumours, that he could have been going to Atletico Madrid. I think that came off the back maybe of he was getting some praise after the Madrid game where he did quite well. Didn't really seem to have much going on there. There was even talking of going to Barcelona at one point. Now, however, it seems that Lazio are the front runners for him. You can see there, just there, it says Mason Greenwood could be at the centre of a bidding war this summer, with Lazio becoming the first Italian club to submit an official offer to Manchester United. So he was linked with Juve. Now it seems that Lazio have sort of gone early and submitted an official offer. You can see there the stats: 10 goals and 6 assists in 36 appearances at Getafe, which is a decent return. It's good, and he's hoping to find a new club, it says there, in the country. However, it seems his future may lie in Italy after Lazio made the first move in a brewing transfer battle by submitting a £30 million bid for his services, according to The Times. This was originally come from The Times. Juve and Napoli are also in the running for Greenwood's signature, while Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid have also been credited with interest. So it doesn't look like he's going to come back to Manchester United, does it? It looks like his future does lie elsewhere. I can see there as well, going to get into some of the chat in the comments, Akash has gifted 5 Stretford Paddock memberships. Thank you, Akash. You do that quite a lot, and we do appreciate it. You know, anyone who supports our memberships is really appreciated. Loads of comments. I'll get into some of these as well. P8, C-Fence, Santa Notch is in there. Glenn F is in there. Alex. I think I've seen Witterbird Vicky in there as well. Ross Murphy, Flashburn 52. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you are checking out the membership section if you've not done already for extra content. Also, as well, you can take advantage, if you're quick enough, of Akash's generous offer. Mason Greenwood, look, I've spoke about this a million times. We know it's not footballing reasons why he's no longer wanted at Manchester United, because it seems pretty obvious he isn't. If he was, he'd be back in the squad, or there'd be no talk of him going to Juve or Lazio or Napoli or Atletico or Barcelona. There'd be none of that. It'd just be, look, he's gone on loan, he's coming back, and we're going to put him into the first team. And we could probably do with him in terms of football ability in the first team. However, we know the reason why he's not in the first team. We don't need to keep going on about it. It's obvious that Manchester United is thinking, look, it's untenable. He needs to move on. It is unfortunate what's happened, but we know the reasons behind it, and now it's probably best for all concerned if he does move on. 30 million quid with add-ons might make sense. I think it's going to have to reach more than 30 million, because I think that Mason Greenwood, regardless of what you think about him, is a very, very talented footballer, and there's a strong chance he'll end up scoring 20 to 30 goals in the near future. He could even do it next season. If you look at now, he's getting himself back to full match fitness. Some of the performances he put in at Getafe and the talent that he's got, wouldn't surprise me if we saw him getting 20 goals wherever he goes next season, maybe even 30 in the not too distant future as well. United just have to stomach that, try and get as much money for him as we can. I think 30 million, maybe with 10 million or 15 million of add-ons makes sense, and then we can all move on. Sammy Salander, welcome to the academy as well. Thank you. Akash K says, sell-on clause seems a little high to be true. Rasmus Johansson says, where is the Sir Jim interview? There's going to be some quotes from the Sir Jim interview. We've not interviewed Sir Jim Ratcliffe, though we'd love to. Let's talk about Edson Alvarez. You can see here, Man United seriously considering to bring in a new midfielder. almost sure in case Casemiro leaves. Sorry, this is from Fabrizio Romano. He says, understand Mexico captain Edson Alvarez is one of the options discussed internally, appreciated by Ten Hag. It's a difficult deal as West Ham consider him as key player. Now, I don't know a lot about Alvarez, to be honest with you, just a sort of rudimentary glance. I know that he's had one season so far at West Ham. He's been straight into the first team, came from Ajax. Obviously came from Ajax, that's why he's been linked with Manchester United. I was looking at the sort of the tweets around this and what the reaction was from West Ham fans, because I always think that's a pretty good barometer of to how good a player is when the fans, the fans of that club the player's at can sort of comment on it and letting their feelings known. If you've got a player where everyone's like, oh, just let him go, if United are stupid enough to sign him, then take the money, then you start to worry. If fans are kicking off and not too happy about him leaving, then you think that, okay, there must be a player there. There's a bit of a mixed bag, and being honest. Most people that I've seen from West Ham fans reacting to it seem a little bit unhappy. One says, unless they come in with a ridiculous offer, we should say no. However, the next one says, he's a West Ham fan, says, if we're honest, he's not good enough for Man United. Then there's someone else saying we'll take 60 to 70 million plus Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's not happening. Matt Morgan, another West Ham fan, says, I'll be fuming if he leaves. They need to announce he will be our captain ASAP. Someone else says, we'll be our captain soon. So it looks like the majority of fans, there's one or two sort of dissenting voices, but it looks like the majority of fans will be sorry to see him go. He's obviously playing a lot of games for West Ham. I think he's played 31 games last season. Looks like he's a useful player. Don't know loads about him. Interesting one, that. I'll have to keep an eye on it, see if United will be able to get that deal over the line. A lot of it obviously depends on what's happening with Casemiro. We do need a central midfielder. I don't think we can rely on Casemiro, even if he stays. I don't think he could be first choice anymore. He seems to have fallen off a bit of a cliff, to be honest with you, doesn't he? So I'd be very surprised if we didn't get a midfielder in, because Kobbie Mainoo needs someone alongside him, or he needs someone behind him. If he's going to be, I think Kobbie Mainoo's more of an 8 in it. You need a 6, and then obviously maybe you can push Bruno forward as a bit of a 10. I don't know what's going to happen there. Someone in the chat, Connor, says, surely Frankie de Jong is an obvious option. We have the Frankie de Jong saga almost every season now, don't we? Or every summer. Wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. We'll have to wait and see. It's all going to be quiet there. It looked at one point like we were going to get him. I think Barcelona accepted a bid, but the player didn't want to go. He was still owed money from Barcelona. De Jong's obviously a very good player. He's injured at the minute. I think that's why he's not with the Dutch squad. But can we actually get him over there? Get him over the line, get him to Manchester United. Have we got the money now with PSR and everything that's coming with that? I'm not so sure, because he's going to cost a few quid. Maybe Edson Alvarez would be a cheaper option. I know he's a slightly different player. A few more comments. We'll get into that. Jacoya Trot says, morning, Jay. Nick, morning, Jay. Quick recap. Quick recap is that Mason Greenwood could be heading to Lazio, I think it was, and Edson Alvarez could be heading to Manchester United. He's being monitored according to Fabrizio Romano. Should we talk a little bit about Sir Jim Ratcliffe then? Sir Jim Ratcliffe's given an interview, I think it's to Bloomberg, when he's spoken about a lot of things. Obviously, the sort of latest story with Sir Jim Ratcliffe ownership was about Jean-Claude Todibo. Me and Joe had this last night in Transfers Live. It looks like that deal, which at one point did seem like it was going to happen, is now off. So he was talking about that, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and saying, that he didn't say the player, but he sort of intimated who it was. You could tell he was talking about Jean-Claude Todibo and his feelings about that. So you can see some of the quotes here. He says, we have a player at Nice, I'm not going to say his name, didn't need to, who is really interested in joining United and who has the ability to be a Manchester United player. They told us, meaning UEFA, we can't sell him to United. Apparently the issue that Nice have got with selling him to Manchester United is because we're both going to be in the Europa League. I think that's what the problem is there. You can't sell, when you've got multi-club ownership, you can't sell to one of your other clubs to a player that's going to be in a competition you're in. It's a little bit frustrating, especially when you see the amount of organisations or groups, the City Group for the obvious one, who sell players within their clubs. But this is a rule that Manchester United now find themselves sort of, suffering from, for want of a better word. It also goes on to say they said we can't sell him to another Premiership club. Oh, sorry, we can sell him to another Premiership club, but we can't sell him to Manchester United. But that's not fair on the player, and I don't see what that achieves. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a little bit miffed about that, and I don't blame him, to be honest with you, because this isn't new. This isn't like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I tell you what, United need a centre-back, Jean-Claude Todibo. Yeah, let's make this happen. We've been linked with him for about a year. He's a well-sought-after centre-back, young centre-back, who's at a club where they sell players. You can always buy players from Nice. It's not like we're trying to get him from a club that never sells. It's not like saying, oh, well, you know what, we're trying to get him from Barcelona or whatever. You get him from a club that does sell players. He's a saleable asset for them. And Manchester United have been looking at him for quite some time, and he would fit in at Manchester United. We need a centre-back. Ticks a lot of boxes. So it just seems a little bit unfair, to be honest with you. I get it. It's like, well, okay, you have to have these rules in place because otherwise you could have clubs proper taking a mick. But yeah, it just seems a little bit like this hasn't happened to other clubs, and now it's happened to Manchester United, which is a little bit frustrating because I would have liked to have seen Todibo. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Stephanie Griffey says 22 away from 100 likes, 600 plus watches, 700 plus watching. Come on, people, hit that like button. Let's get to 200 likes. Abhinav Verma says we have a player at Nice whose name rhymes with Modibo. Yeah, he could have told us that way, couldn't he? Yes, other people saying like they could be talking about someone else. We know who he's talking about. Kevin Aitchison says, aren't City and Girona both in the Champions League? How are they allowed to sell to each other? I think they've got around that some way, haven't they? Like by selling him to someone else or something. I can't remember. I was talking about this last night. But yeah, there's ways and means around it for certain clubs. Glenn F says, the thing is, Jay, the Glazers own the clubs. The whole thing is a farce. Well, that's technically true. The Glazers still own most of Manchester United. So it's not like Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a majority shareholder in Manchester United. He isn't. Savio, I think it is, was on loan at Girona, but he was owned by another City Group team, not in the Champions League. All very murky, innit? Like, oh, he's only on loan at Girona, he's owned by another City Group, but they're not in the Champions League, so there you go. Funnily enough, when it comes to multi-club ownership, so Jim Ratcliffe was talking about that, and he's like, he likes that model. He was saying that he believes in multi-club ownership, because he was asked, would you ever sell Nice? Why don't you just sell Nice? Because obviously, you know, Manchester United is your sort of passion project. That's the club that and the team that you support. This is the one that you said that you've always wanted to do. So can you not just say, right, well, I've got United now. I don't really need Nice. But he says that obviously he's fond of the club and he believes in a multi-club ownership. And he thinks it could be best for both teams, best for both clubs. He said Nice would be very complementary to Manchester United. You could blood younger players in at Nice. And then he said there's another two reasons as well. He said with Brexit, the difficulties you've got with signing young players from the continent because of, you know, the rules that Brexit, and let's not forget Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I think, was a bit of a Brexiteer, so that's come back to bite him on the backside, as it has to a lot of Brexiteers, but let's not get political. Says contracting younger players is easier at Nice. So you could get, if there's a fantastic 15-year-old in France, you could sign him to Nice and use him as a conduit to Manchester United. So you could, it works both ways. You could send some young players. Was it Royal Antwerp we used to do that with? Well, we used to have these young players, didn't we? And we'd send them to Royal Antwerp in Belgium, and then they'd get a bit of experience, and then you bring them back to United. I think quite a lot of players back in the day, loads of Manchester United players did that. I think it was a thing that almost all of them did. That came through the academy and looked like they were gonna do bits. I mean, like Danny Simpson, Danny Drinkwater, Ronnie Warwick, players like that. It's just like, right, get over to Royal Antwerp. Get a season in Belgium, then come back if you're ready to either go out on loan at someone in the Championship or the Premier League or come into the United squad. So I get his point there. I think that could be quite beneficial to have someone who goes out on loan and plays at a decent level, because Nice are obviously competing in League 1, and that could be a good idea. And also with the whole work permit thing and getting players in, yeah, you could do that if you've got a young French starlet and you wanted to get him to Manchester United eventually, get him at Nice, get him some minutes, get him there, and then when he's ready to come to Manchester United, yeah, why not? I understand that. However, is it a reality? Can it be a reality? I don't know. I mean, other clubs do it. City Group are the one I keep mentioning. They've got a multi-club ownership model. I think we've seen it with other clubs as well. Some of the Gulf states are buying more than one club. They're buying several clubs under their sort of umbrella, if you will. So, I'm not against the idea, to be honest with you. Let me know what you think. Bojan Djordjic says, Akash K. I love Bojan. It's been on the channel a couple of times. Top bloke. Rusty Pajol says, seems like a PR justification for 70 million Branthwaite. Okay. Yeah. He's feeling that this is all, well, we couldn't get to Todibo, so we had to go out and spend 70 million on Branthwaite. I don't think Manchester United will spend 70 million pound on Jarrad Branthwaite. And I think if we do, he's a good player, then I think you're going to struggle to argue that everything's different under this new regime than what it was under the previous one. That very much feels like an Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold signing, going out and spending 70 million quid on a young English centre-back. I mean, he's a good player, but I think you have to have some limits. Now, last season we went out and we spent, was it 60 million on Mason Mount, who had 1 year left on his deal. Now, it's not his fault he got injured, obviously, and the manager can't know he got injured, but on the cold light of day now, that just looks like a bit of a silly move, to be honest with you, when we could have waited or maybe played a bit more hardball to pay such a big amount for a player that was almost out of contract and had some injury issues the previous season as well. Now, if you're going to go in and go, right, okay, we're going to spend £70 million on a player who, whilst he's been a very good player, you know, Everton do need to sell, I think. They've got issues around PSR. They were deducted a couple of points as well. So it's not like they can play too much hardball. You wouldn't have thought. And I don't see a lot of other clubs coming in for Jarrad Branthwaite. I think there's been rumours that maybe clubs are looking at it, but nothing concrete. And I think you've got a bit of an advantage as well with him not going to the Euros, because had he been at the Euros like Mark Gay, who everyone's talking about, everyone's looking at, United have been linked with him, but so have other clubs now because of the performance he put in, particularly against Serbia and the fact he's in the squad, then it could have made life a bit more difficult, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Malcolm Campbell says, morning, Jay. Akash K says, the wages Branthwaite would be getting sends a big two fingers to Leacher as well, so I agree with you. Yeah, he could be on big money. We'll have to wait and see. Stoyan Histrov says, not his fault to be injured, but been injured for 2 seasons. We could have known better. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Could we have maybe looked at it and gone, look, he's had a few injuries. He is a very good player. And I mean, we could get him now, or we could wait a little bit and see if he wants to come. I'm just looking here. So, obviously, last season, he missed 21 games. He missed 6 games as well. So, it's 20... Is it 6 or 8 there? I'm sorry, my eyesight is shocking. 6, thank you, Joe. 27 games in total. And then the previous season, is it 15, 16... That's 16 games the previous season. So, it's not horrendous. 13. Oh, was it 13? Sorry. 7 out of 5. 13, it's just not that bad, to be honest with you. And then prior to that, actually, it's all right, isn't it? It's not, it's for an attacking player, because I think he is an attacking player, it's pretty average. I think he's just had a real bad season this season, or the season just gone, in terms of the amount of games he's missed, because he never usually misses that amount of games. If you're just having a look now to sort of see how many games he's played. He played 24 games in the Premier League this season for United. The previous season, he's 32 games for Chelsea. Season before that, 30. Season before that, 37. He's not an injury-prone kid, is it? Maybe you could have said, look, he's not injury-prone, but he's got a year left on his deal. Should we wait? But then if you wait, other clubs might come in with him. They might have offered him huge money. I just think it's just a bit unlucky. I know people don't like to use the term luck when it comes to football, but I feel like the Mason Mount one, it was a bit, because he's a good player, Mason Mount, but he was almost completely useless last season, wasn't it? And that's not me trying to have a dig at him, but sorry, I got it wrong. It wasn't, the eyesight's terrible. It was 14 games for United, 24 the previous season, so, sorry, in the Premier League. So he missed 14 games in the Premier League last season. So it's a chunk, but it's not terrible, especially when you go looking at the previous seasons, 32, 30 and 37. So yeah, sorry, I can bet that. That's, for some reason, it's dead small on it, so really struggling. I wouldn't class him as injury prone, just had a really bad season in terms of injuries last time round. Maybe United need to be a little bit more careful when it comes to signing players. We certainly need to be careful when it comes to signing Jarrad Branthwaite. I think 70 million quid would be too much, but it doesn't look like we're going to get Jean-Claire Todibo, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe ain't happy about it. Big thank you to everyone who's got involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be back later on with Off the Bar, myself, Joe Smith and Stephen Alson, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I've been Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.